All right, what's up, guys? Nick here with Late Night Chess, and as usual, we're going to go over the Chess.com Saturday puzzle. This puzzle, I think, this Saturday was a little bit easier than other Saturday puzzles, but still not a very easy puzzle. So just looking at the position, the first thing you want to do, I think, would just be counting the material balance. So both sides have two bishops, both sides have two rooks, both sides have two queens. So material's fairly even, although obviously white is up quite a few pawns. And so what you want to try and do in this position is try and find some forcing lines that really are going to test white. So the first move in this puzzle is going to be rook e2, which makes a lot of sense since rook e2 is threatening checkmate in one. And white's pieces are actually not very well coordinated, and it's kind of hard for white to figure out how he's going to be able to defend g2. The queen's kind of oddly placed. Obviously, this dark squared bishop's not going to be able to help defend. This rook might be able to defend, but this is actually not a very easy mate to defend. So in the puzzle, we see white going queen a8, but just to show really quickly, rook g3 is another try to stop this mate, but it actually doesn't work for two reasons. One, I'm simply just going to be able to take this rook and I'll be up in exchange, which is good for me, but it's actually even better for black than just being up in exchange, because after white takes, you actually have a forced mate. Here, after white takes, you can play rook e1, check, and white has, I believe, three possible moves. He can go king f2, he can go king h2, or he can go bishop f1. But all of those still lead to mate. So obviously, going king f2, you have a very quick mate with queen e2. If bishop f1, then you can just go queen g3 check. And after the king moves over to the side, you have yet another mate. And then finally, the last try that white could go for would be king h2. It would be, yeah, so after he takes the bishop, sorry, rook e1, and then king h2. But after king h2, you can just go queen h5 check, and then white only has one legal move, which is bishop h3, and now this bishop is really coming in handy here to defend the queen, and you have mate. So rook g3 doesn't work for a lot of reasons. So white's best try is queen a8, and then here you don't want to come back and defend with the rook, even though that seems like a nice move since it's attacking the queen. Your rook is really well placed on the second rank and creating mate threats. And after bishop c8, which just stops everything, you still are threatening mate here on g2. And interesting to note that white doesn't really have any counterplay or any mates here. So white, again, has to figure out how he's going to defend g2. He could try for rook g3, but that still fails for all the reasons we showed in the last position. And so the only reasonable try here is d6, which defends g2 from immediate mate. But then black has a really cool move. I think this is the hardest move in the puzzle to find. So it seems like everything's holding now, right? The bishop and queen are communicating very well. Perhaps, eventually white might be able to get some counterplay with the queen d5 check. But a really cool move here is bishop h4, which is simply just moving out of the way to allow the rook to come to e1. So you might be wondering, well, why don't other moves work like, I don't know, I mean, bishop c3 or bishop d2 also seem to clear the way for the rook. But what bishop h4 does is it still guards this f2 square, which causes the mate threat. Rook e1 will then be a checkmate, as opposed to the bishop coming on this coming on this diagonal, in which case f2 is no longer defended. So bishop h4 is threatening another mate in one. So we were threatening mate in one earlier with queen g2. Now we're threatening mate in one with rook e1. And again, the only really reasonable moves here are what the puzzle shows, which is rook d1, defending the what I'll call a back rank mate. Or white could maybe try something like queen d5 now. But actually, queen d5 doesn't really work after bishop e6, which blocks the check and now is threatening white's queen. And if white wants to come back to a8, instead of going bishop c8, which then will just cause us to repeat, black can simply just go king h7, and he's going to be able to hide really, really well on h6. So let's say, queen b7 check, king h6, and now there's really no more threats on the black king. and white, has to kind of cover two squares that are going to cause mate more immediately as rook e1 still has to be defended. So queen d5 doesn't really work here. So let's take a look at the actual move, which was rook d1. Seems like it kind of holds this rook e1 threat. But now notice that this white rook is in the line of the diagonal of black's queen. And so simply rook takes g2, winning an exchange here. Check. So then after queen g2, obviously other moves don't work because they lead to mate. Queen g2, and now queen d1, and black is much better here. Black is up an entire bishop, and even though he is down some pawns, these pawns are pretty weak. And we'll be able to pick those up. So play would continue something like maybe queen f1, I could go queen g4, and I'm going to start being able to pick up these pawns. And being up an entire bishop is just going to be game over for white. So pretty interesting puzzle. I think the key move here was bishop h4. So if you found that move, congratulations. That's a really great move to find and really, really crushing, finding different ways to cause checkmate. So, well, if you guys enjoyed this video, please give me a subscribe, hit the like button. I'll be posting every Saturday, or I'll try to be posting as much every Saturday that I can on these Saturday puzzles. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys then.